call the meeting to order?
I guess so.
Do you have the recorder?
I do.
Okay.
First thing we have to do is review these minutes. That's on the thing with the seal. All in favor of accepting the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Our future meetings, November 16th, I think we just informally have considered canceling December 21st. It is Christmas week. Is that sufficient for everybody? Yes?
And Kelvin will keep us advised by email, as you always do, anything we need to know.
And then you'll notice that there's a shift to the fourth week, because for January and February, because the third Monday in each of those months is a holiday. So, but the dates are there. And then we have nominations and elections. That's our next thing that the board's going to have to chew on for a while. But that will be the secretarial report.
Thank you. For my report, all I wanted to do is to thank Kelvin for that comprehensive presentation you gave us at our condensed commissioner orientation meeting. I guess we expect to perhaps see some of that and some additional information once we have a better sense of what the new administration has in mind with regard to new commissioners. So we'll all look forward to that.
If anybody wants me to dig in detail on any particular topic or anything, please let me know. I'm happy to revise and do that.
I'm thinking they might have to use you as a resource as to who gets to appoint these commissioners, because I'm willing to guess they don't quite know the breakdown. He might be planning to make appointments when maybe he can't, so maybe you got to reach out to whoever's doing it to just say, he's already hit his peak on.
I think the most valuable thing I have is that sheet that breaks them all down that I think you guys put together. In fact, I've provided that to the mayor's office, and that's
Right,
what
and that should be enough that they understand.
Yeah.
Great. So, do you have a report for us, Kelvin?
Yeah, I do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, so far this year, we're at 29 complaints. That's about twice as many as we had last year at this time. Our investigators are working on a total of 47 open complaints from 2013 to 2015. Internal Affairs got 27 new complaints to date in November. They've got 679 total this year, and that's roughly equivalent, a little bit more than they had at this time last year. Audits, we've got 137 of those. I sat for the first time on November 3rd on the police department's use of force review board. I've included in your packet the new directive 10.4. And in fact, I will be providing you guys with a whole set of the entire directives, because they've all been, most of them have been updated at this point. I've been waiting to give you the entire package because a lot of them have changed, and we're at the point now where they're all they're standing still for the moment. So I'm going to provide everyone with a full package of all of the directives. This 10.4 though defines how the use of force review board works. And I also point out that this is a public document now. That's a substantial change as opposed to how the department handled directives in the past. And eventually, we probably will see all of the directives, the entire set of directives, as a public document. That is one of
You're
the
right, because like when we were appointed, that was like a whole big thing. They weren't public.
Exactly. Yeah, in fact, they told us years ago that when we even suggested that that was just not a good idea, the world was going to fall apart. But this is now a public document, thankfully, and many of the others will be too. In fact, all of the directives connected to Directive 10 are now on the website, and gradually they're going to have 22, which covers use of force, and the other directives as well, and that's a very good thing.
Yeah, because we just had that big directed to the
Yeah.
But
So, on our website or the police department website?
It's on the police department's website. We're free to, I'm sure we're free to post it on ours as well, so
Yeah.
that's not a problem.
I mean, we keep pointing to the commission and to you and to our website as a source of information, so I think that would be great to get that up there as well.
And yeah, for the first meeting, I thought it was a good experience. Everybody was very accommodating. It's very regimented, you know, they had a seat, you know, you have to sit right in the seat there and everything, so it was good. I look forward to learning a lot in being part of that, trying to bring that value of what we're learning out to the public there and actually influencing some of the policy decisions that they make.
Was your
Also-
seat left of center or right of center?
I was right next to Deputy Commissioner Turka, but that was good, actually. Also connected to that, I just responded this morning, 3:35, to the first shooting scene. It was an incident up in the 25th Police District. Involved someone who may have had a knife. And we'll see where that goes, but I was received pretty well at the scene. There was one lieutenant who wasn't quite on board, but we changed that very quickly. Gathered the information I needed to, took a couple of pictures, which I sent to you guys. And we're trying to develop a uniform response when we go out to the scenes, the information that we gather. For now, myself, Will, and Joe will probably be coordinating who will respond when. For the moment, I want to go to the first couple just to get a sense of how the thing goes forward. But all of us will be going to those as it happens. So that's another major step forward.
Calvin, I think it's a really good idea to have a protocol.
Yep.
But my question is, can you borrow a protocol from, like, are there other commissions maybe that are doing that now that have
Yes.
something that we can use as a resource?
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, I've been talking with the Seattle Police Auditor, Mark Kissinger, is one of the more experienced people in oversight doing shooting investigations. He was part of Chicago's shooting response team for years, and also does shooting reviews in Seattle. And he's been very generous with his time in suggesting how we might approach this. So definitely we want to put together a solid protocol as to how we're going to respond, the information we're going to collect, how we're going to put that out to the public when that's appropriate. Okay, we've got so far 12 of these completed shooting investigations back from 2015 and 2014. I've asked them to give them to us going backwards with the most recent ones first. Obviously, if there's something that we find concerning in some of the more recent ones, that would be something more likely that we can actually get the department to take action on rather than the ones that are pretty far in the past. But eventually, we will get all those shootings back to 2007, which was our original request back in 2013.
Do you have a template for reviewing these records?
Now, that's what we're still trying to put together in connection with our response to the scene, what we're looking at in each record. Okay, body-worn cameras. I've given you in the package here what is a number of civil rights groups from around the country have gotten together and developed what you see on page 2, which is the principles that you want to take a look at in terms of rolling out cameras in your community. Number one, of course, is to develop those policies in public. One of the things we may consider doing is actually asking that either city council or frankly ourselves convene a hearing probably in city council chambers to discuss what that policy will look like here in Philadelphia. There's a temporary policy in place now which was put together for the pilot program in the 22nd district. That temporary policy actually only saves footage, for example, for 30 days. That's far too short a period, obviously, for a full-blown policy in terms of making the footage from the cameras available for complaint investigations, shootings, etc. The general rule is that any footage that an officer takes that's relevant to the use of force incident, an arrest of some sort, is saved for an indefinite period of time. What's key is how long we're going to save the rest of the footage. Most of the policies that I've seen out there so far, the model policies say that you should at least save footage for 60 to 90 days, if not more. In looking at complaints that go through the department, I found out that over the last 5 years, most of our complaints, actually 73% of complaints, are initiated within a 30-day window from the actual incident, which kind of surprised me, actually. I thought it would be longer than that, but that's what it is. So 7 out of every 10 complaints is filed within 30 days of the underlying incident. But you still have a good number of complaints and other types of incidents that you want to make this footage useful for. And a policy, for example, that only saves the footage for 60 days is not going to be particularly useful for example, a lawsuit defense or something like that, which has a much longer window. Even the 75-day time frame for internal affairs investigations contemplates something a little bit longer than that. So if I have a complaint that's filed within 30 days, but maybe I don't get to that because it doesn't come up on a wheel, or the investigator doesn't get to it until longer, we clearly need to have a longer time frame in terms of how we save the footage. The other big question is, when do we allow officers to view the footage that comes from the camera? We've heard a lot of comments from Commissioner Ramsey and also Commissioner Bratton in New York about, well, we don't want to play gotcha with the officers. We're going to simply let them view the footage to offer their report. I think the problem with that is that the laws around use of force really are tied to objective reasonableness, which is determined in the moment, not after the officers reviewed the footage and then written a report based on his review of the footage, not what happened then. So, as you'll see in here, one of the things that they say is that number 5, preserve the independent evidentiary value of officer reports by prohibiting officers from viewing footage before filing reports. Footage of an event presents a partial and sometimes misleading perspective of how events unfolded. Pre-report viewing could cause an officer to conform the report to what the video appears to show rather than what the officer actually saw. Now, there is a way, in looking at some of the other policies, there is a way around this. Let's say, for example, you wanted to take advantage of that. You could allow the officer to view the footage after he's written the report with a supervisor, and then have a supervisor, change the report in some way, and then you can kind of note that. So there are ways around that, but we don't want to be at a point where you just simply let the officers view all the footage before internal affairs investigations, before all of that. That's problematic, I think. But these are those principles, and that's something I think we should consider, if not adopting these directly, then considering some of the other, there are several out there. The ACLU has a pretty good model policy that I can give you as well. But that's going to be the big thing going forward next year. Commissioner Designee Ross has said that increasing the number of body cameras in the department is going to be one of his priorities, so that this is something we'll be dealing with in a great deal going forward. Back on page 5 there, you see, I'm just giving you a brief update on House Bill 1583. We talked about that a little bit earlier. This is the bill that would prohibit the release of officers' names who were tied to shootings within 72 hours, except, of course, if there was some type of criminal charge against them, which is exceedingly rare, if at all. So those are the House committee votes on this issue. I suppose we could presume that Governor Wolf is likely to veto this. He's not expressed an opinion one way or another on this. This is something I've been talking with my counterpart in Pittsburgh about, and the two of us are actually trying to draft some sort of statement that both of our bodies could get together, perhaps get other support on to support this effort by the commissioner to allow this type of transparency to go forward. We've also got the interest of the state ACLU, which actually issued a press release, condemning this bill. So that's something that I'm going to put on you guys' plate at some point very soon. Meetings this month, October 27th, I did the data and civil rights thing at the museum in Washington, D.C. That was a very good event. Lots of folks talking about that intersection between all of the massive amounts of data that we're now trying to process and make sense of to impact what we're doing. December 4th, I'm also an invited speaker at NACOL's holding a conference at the University of DC Law School, where I'm going to talk about some of the things I learned at the Data Civil Rights Conference and what we've been trying to do here. Talking about how that can be relevant for other police oversight agencies. Also along those lines, last month I met with the pastor of the Sweet Union Baptist Church in the 19th District. I was showing him some of our mapping stuff around not only police complaints, but looking at crimes and different incidents in the 19th District. And he wants us to come out and kind of demo that in front of one of the 19th District meetings there. So I'm looking forward to that opportunity. Joe, of course, continues to do the monthly rights and responsibilities workshops over here with the folks at RISE. That's become a very useful way to communicate some of the things we're talking about to a population that, as we all know, has a much more likely chance to get into some incident with officers. He's been very well received there. I'm very proud of him for doing that. And I'm going to send our good friend Will Michael down to Policing in America, sponsored by the Cato Institute in DC on December 1st. And that is our report for this month.
Well, a libertarian conservative group, Cato Institute.
Yeah, Cato is interesting. Cato, as we begin to see all these Republicans and Dems kind of coming around to some similar viewpoints on criminal justice issue, prison population, things like that. Cato has really emerged as a pretty interesting player. They put together a national police misconduct giant database that combines a whole bunch of different things. It's actually pretty good. So seeing them sponsor this type of conference is interesting. This is not something they would have done in the past, but these are slightly different times, and everybody is seeking solutions in the criminal justice arena. So I think this is a reflection of that.
Loosely related to the body cams, do you know that the ACLU in Pennsylvania and a couple of other states have released an app, a mobile app, so that you can film any type of, I guess it's geared towards police misconduct, and then it automatically goes to their server so that it can't accidentally be erased. And I know that they're looking into developing protocol and how long they're keeping it and all the same challenges. Have you seen it yet?
I'm familiar with the app. I think New Jersey ACLU was the first one that started that, and I mean it's the same problem. Who saves the footage? Who has access to it, and all of that, and how long did they save it? So
I think you can find it on their website and look at some of the to be developed protocols, the things they're considering. So.
Yeah, we actually had a developer that came to, a local software developer who came to us with a similar app that he wanted to try to get us interested in, but we'll see, it costs money, so I said, sorry, I'm going to have any money.
That's for sure. That's a good excuse, really.
Plus the ACLU app is free, too.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to build that kind of app, to be honest.
Right, thank you. Phoebe, I'm sorry.
If it's a true concern with reviewing the videos, that the supervisor or an officer could possibly, go back after they read the video and they read the report and they change it. That's really such a concern. Why not interject PAC in that in some way. Possibly you can either have someone from PAC view the video with them. And I guess you would have to look at a time frame on when the report was actually viewed after the officer viewed it. So I had to interject in some.
Yeah, that's possibly. I'm worried at how much that would be a considerable undertaking, given the number of incidents that result in some sort of arrest that mean, you know, they're going to save the video. But yeah, I mean, there are a number of ways you can get at that viewing issue, but I think the problem here is a lot of police commissioners like Ramsey or Bratton are now taking a very strong stand of we're going to let them view everything, and they're just kind of, you know, this is part of the anti-Ferguson kind of pushback, I think. So I think we have to oppose that, but there are I think there's a lot of things you can do in between to make it be useful and do it correctly.
I think the timeline is very crucial, and then we obviously reviewing the right report, and then viewing it again, and then looking at the report, or changing the report. So I think that would have to be established, that protocol there.
Yeah, because I think human beings, once you see video, you're going to change, even if you know something else happened, people tend to change what they see because they tend to believe that, well, I saw it on camera, it must be true. So that's a problem.
Other questions for Kelvin?
Just a brief, did you update it all on the arbitration decisions and meeting?
Not yet, no.
Do you want to do that, and I'll jump, oh, you want me to?
Go ahead, go for it.
So Calvin had requested arbitration decisions. It was prompted by the recent arbitrations involving the police, who were ultimately not dismissed because they were acquitted in the drug prosecutions. And it was our understanding that we could receive those pursuant to a Commonwealth Court decision that had originated a few years back. The City Solicitor's Office took the position that we can receive the arbitration awards, but certain things will be redacted consistent with this Commonwealth Court decision. So we met with Cara Levini, who is the Deputy of Labor and Employment in the City Solicitor's Office, and she's to get back to us. So essentially, the City Solicitor has no objection to our seeing the arbitration awards. They do have an interest in our not releasing certain identifying criteria, children's names, schools where the kids might attend, things that would be considered private, and we have no problem. In a way, it's similar to our request for all of the records from the police department, which they're giving us, and then we're agreeing to certain, privacy concerns. So there will probably be a similar protocol put in place. I called Cara again this morning because Kelvin and I had met with her some time ago. We have not heard back yet. We did not get a call back before the meeting, but I'm going to keep bugging her so that we can get a similar protocol in place, and then we will at least have those documents to review as well.
Yeah, I mean, our concern too is the redactions I've seen so far seem to be a bit heavy-handed. They seem to be actually blanking out most of the decisions that would allow you to determine what the heck happened.
It's a little bit more than a kid's name in a school.
Yeah,
Right.
like
And
a block like this.
Right. That's not consistent with the spirit of the decision.
No, but we'll see.
Actually, let me ask another question. And I, forgive me, I forget the name of the family that the mother came here.
Caution.
Yes, thank you. What's the latest on that?
Well, there are a couple of newspaper reporters who are interested in the situation.
And they found that unrelated to us.
Yeah, somehow. So actually was interviewed by Channel 6 last week about this, as was Mrs. Kochman. I don't think the story has not aired yet. Probably will not, given everything else that's going on with Paris right now. And at this point, I think we're trying to figure out what our next steps are going to be in terms of who we want to interview or what our discussions are with the district attorney's offices, what we found so far. So that's kind of where we are at the moment.
We've initiated contact to see if there's any interest in the district attorney's office in reopening the investigation. If there is, we might hold off a little and see where their investigation is going. If there is not, then it seems to me we can subpoena witnesses and bring them in and start to question.
Because the police department's been pretty clear, even though they seem to be interested in revisiting it, then they were less interested.
Yeah, I think, again, their conclusion is simply that there's no change in who did it, essentially. And that's kind of their limited question. And they're not interested too much in the other questions that we've raised around this.
Thank you. Anything else?
That's it.
No new business? No public comment? It's amazing how when we start the meeting at 4, we, get right through it. Well, thank you all. I guess we will see you in January 25th unless...
Oh, no, November, oh, yeah, that does. It is November 16th.
Unless something else happens.
January 25th.
Thank you.
When nominations will be due, so you and I will work on that and figure out what we do.